Good morning. You're listening to Drinking Socially, the official Untappd podcast.
Your weekly look at what's happening in the Untappd community and the world of beer. This episode is brought to you by Untappd and the Untappd store. Use the coupon code PODCAST to get 20% off your next purchase. That's store.untappd.com, and the coupon code is PODCAST. Save some dough. Get a hat to hide your flow.
Nice. Well done.
Something. Yeah, you know.
You can't hide Harrison's flow under any hat.
Yeah. You're right. I can't wear hats. It's not allowed legally. And don't forget to like us, subscribe, follow, whatever you like to do online to things you like. Every new subscriber puts another leaf on John's wall behind him. Help Mother Nature reclaim John's house. Like, subscribe, follow us, all those cool things. We appreciate it, as does the leaves and John.
Yeah, those two things, Leaves and I often agree. They're good arguing, sparring opponents for the debate team that good is listeners. Me in this room. So one thing we're not going to debate is beer for breakfast. Objectively, it's a good idea. Or at least it's not a bad idea. And for those of you wondering, it would take at least 4, probably 5 or even more coffee stouts or porters to bring you the level of caffeine you usually get from 1 cup of coffee. So for me to get out of bed on beer for breakfast, I'm already 12 or 15 beers deep. And that's not a terrible way to start your Wednesday, I guess. But it's also the ending of your Wednesday. And so if we're not drinking coffee beers for breakfast, then what are we even drinking them for? The easy answer is flavor. They're delicious. And I'm not talking about the coffee IPA trend of 2015. That was subjectively terrible. But a porter, a stout, they naturally bring a lot of the same flavors of coffee because of the roasting that happens to the malt in them. And today, we're talking about beers with coffee as an added ingredient. So much more like a Starbucks for the nighttime, even though those might already exist. There's been breweries all over the world now capturing this flavor profile and using extra coffee to highlight the subtle notes that are already present in this dark beer. So today, we're actually featuring kind of a whale of a coffee stout. And there's one additional reason to drink a coffee beer this week. Harrison, let everyone know what the badge we're focusing on this episode is about.
That's right, John. It is time to wake up and smell the coffee. There's lots. I could said a lot of things there, quoted a lot of famous people. But today, we're waking up, we're smelling coffee. For this badge, the description is coffee has long been a flavor counterpart for stouts and porters, which means coffee is not just for breakfast anymore. Check in 5 different beers with the style porter coffee, porter Imperial double, coffee stout Imperial double, and stout coffee. So porters, stouts with coffee in them, you have them, great. You're going to be unlocking this badge. And as you mentioned, we have a pretty killer beer. I couldn't believe I was able to find it to enjoy this with. So let's waste no time and get into what would be my 7th probably cup of coffee of the day. But first, beer. What are we enjoying?
I want to drink as much coffee as you do, Harrison.
No, you don't.
But, well, good point. Today, we're all having our late evening pick-me-ups, or if you do listen to this show in the morning and you're drinking along with us, then wake up and smell the coffee. Today, we're featuring a beer from Perennial Artisan Ales out of St. Louis, Missouri, home of the popular St. Lunatics and Nelly, and some great coffee and brewers. Today's beer is called SUMP Coffee Stout. The 2021 edition from Perennial ranks in at 11.5% ABV. Harrison's showing off this amazing can on YouTube. It looks like a D&D game. If you get the can in real life, there's like these nice little gold sparks that jump out at you from the Coffee Grim Reaper on it. This beer on Untappd rates 4.37. That's closer to heaven than any Southern woman's beehive hairdo. There's a joke in there somewhere, but
yeah. I think
anyways, the notes we get about this beer from Untappd and from Perennial, it's an Imperial Stout with coffee, so it qualifies for this badge. This year, the coffee was grown in the Montalban region of Oaxaca, Mexico, which is an amazing city in Mexico, like the culinary capital of Mexico, home of the mole stout. Visit, drink coffee, drink beer, eat food. It's also roasted in the South City, St. Louis SUMP Coffee Roastery. That's where it gets its name from as well. So the base stout is smooth, chocolatey, complemented by notes of pecan, toffee, pear, and vanilla. That's already a weird, great-sounding dessert crumble. Sweet and bitter, balanced against each other, swirling around. It's a full-bodied stout and powerfully rich, yet amazingly crisp drinking experience. Harrison, I see you already poured into a pretty fancy looking glass and you're a sip ahead of me. So I'm going to shut up and pour this myself.
Right.
What do you think so far, man?
These beers are always so much fun. Yeah. I mean, this is a trip because it's kind of check-in, right? It's thick. But it's not, I mean, it's a big, look at that thing. It's a big old 11.5% coffee stout. And you can kind of taste it. So the nose, though, right away for me, it's like kind of that, like, right, roasty. It is nutty, but there's definitely obviously like a bittersweet baker's chocolate thing happening. When you drink it, though, there is like an interesting fruit note happening. I don't know, like a pear, maybe it's pear, but I get all this stuff, the vanilla. I mean, this is delicious. It's kind of like, right, it's like waking up and sure, like if this is
smelling the coffee,
there it is.
Waking up and smelling
exactly right. It's almost like someone. I mean, this isn't the barrel aged version of it, but I almost get like a bourbon in my coffee vibe from this, if you will. Like I'm just the 30-year veteran cop on the force. Like basically, this is what Bruce Willis's breakfast in striking distance kind of probably was every morning, just coffee and bourbon, and getting into trouble. But that's in a good way. But this is
getting
amazing.
Into trouble in a good way. Yeah.
Bruce Willis does that best.
This is like Bruce Willis's everyday breakfast in my imagination.
Yeah, exactly. He probably lives a pretty boring life because he's, Bruce Willis all the time. He doesn't need to have excitement. He can afford to avoid it. But anyway, what's happening over there, John? What are you getting? First sips? First hits, a lot of heat on this, but in a good way. There's like heat happening from that alcohol. It's great.
There's a lot going on with this beer to pull Johnism, but the bitterness is more than I thought it was going to be. Not like boozy, but that heat, like not like a capsaicin jalapeno, but like. It's hot, like it could have sat in the can for probably 5 years. Sure, it's 11%.
Yes.
So there's more bitterness than I would have expected, but it's balanced. And the thing that I'm having the hardest time figuring out, like pecan, toffee, coffee, that dark, almost, you could even go like butterscotch, caramel, chocolate, all those flavors that I want to find in a big stout are there. But then there's this like blueberry or some kind of, not stone fruit, of course, but like a even in good coffee. If you ever went to one of those places where you spend like $7 on a latte and you can pick where you want your coffee to be from, even in good coffee, beer, wine, you'll see those like tasting notes of caramel and blueberry and strawberry and grass in your coffee. And I don't know if the coffee contributed to this, but I want to say there's a blueberry happening in here, not intentionally, but there's floating around in here, or maybe it's pear. I could be getting confused. That pear vanilla. There's a lot going on in this beer.
You're right, but you said blueberry. Now I taste like blueberry crumble almost. There's like the sweet. There's that like kind of melted blueberry sugar you get when you torch some blueberries, make some reduce it down or whatever a little bit. there's something to that that I'm also picking up, and maybe it is that vanilla and pear and kind of toffee dancing around and tricking my brain into tasting blueberry, but I'm getting a lot of that in the middle here. That is delicious. And I say it every time we have a beer like this, where I want, to your point, I want like the base stout, and then I want to drink that, and then I want to drink this, so I can kind of see like what's the coffee doing, what role is it really playing? Because again, so many of those specialty malts out there can mimic so many coffee flavors. And then give me the barrel aged version of this. Yeah, that's too much for one night and one man. Certainly, at least this man. That would be. I mean, I don't even know. I'd be referencing much more obscure movies in striking distance by the time beer 3 hit me there. Going back to Hudson Hawk, it doesn't matter. But for tonight, yeah, I'm happy to again sit here, let this open up a bit. I'm going to try every time. I'm going to try to remember to check in on this beer in like 5 minutes with you and have another sip together and see what's happening then. But as right now, it's like a chocolatey blueberry pastry thing that it's tough.
Yeah. Like a pastry stout, but not a full on pastry stout.
No,
like you were thinking about a pastry stout while you were making a really big stout.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense, but
no, I get it. Cause it's not, I wouldn't call this sweet. I would not, and this is not a pastry stout, and it doesn't check those boxes for me. It just kind of tastes like a lot of great Imperial coffee sets I've had in the past, but this blueberry, I can't get away from the blueberry now. It's like you've incepted it into me.
Sorry, man.
No, it's great. It's amazing.
It keeps popping. I'm excited to see what happens as this warms up. I'm hoping or maybe anticipating that like the caramely pecan coming out a little bit more. But
sure.
What's been the same every sip that I've had so far is that bitter, clean finish, which isn't something I usually get. Certainly not in a pastry stout, but even this 11.5%.
Yeah.
And after I get done with my sip, that bitterness just kind of like drags everything along with it. And I'm not left like with this caramely coffee flavor in my mouth very much. That's pretty impressive.
Now I just got a little pear. This is a lot. There's a fruit party, a secret fruit party.
Ooh, like secret fruit party is a great beer name.
The basement. This is like in the scene. Oh man, I'm showing my age. It's a scene in Dirty Dancing at the country club when the hoity-toity country club losers are having their goofy cocktail hour and all the guys working at the country club are partying and Patrick Swayze shirtless dancing with everybody in the real party that's happening underneath the lame white glove party. There's a party inside here, a party within a party, partyception, whatever. Doesn't matter.
Yep.
But this is
guys upstairs were drinking Mick Ultra and downstairs they were drinking SUMP and having a blast.
That's right. Ripping doors off the handles and surfing down the street with them. Really living life. That's what I'm talking about. This is a party for sure. It's happening.
Speaking of party, that's the fanciest glassware you've sported on the podcast for a while. That's a German-Italian Tiku glass?
Something like that. Yeah, it's a Tiku glass. So if you're on YouTube, you're taking a good look at it. John and I are both enjoying some stuff, this beer out of a Tiku tonight. And this one actually is a collab. Both of them are collabs from Osner. So Osner, you guys may have seen back in the last fall, Untappd or Next Glass, if you will, acquired Osner. They're a marketplace for beer releases, and I've actually been working with that team since they joined the fam, if you will. And it's been a blast. It's really cool. We have an app, and follow us on Instagram at Get Osner for releases, information about stuff like this. So we're doing cool collaborations, whether it's glassware, maybe more than that. With some great breweries like Perennial. You have the Moore glass that you're enjoying out of for Moore Brewing in Chicago. So, but yeah, it's been a lot of fun working with them and kind of building this marketplace and work with a lot of really cool breweries, getting their beer on here in front of people, and then kind of also collaborating on cool glassware, which is something I've always wanted to do. And here we are. So this one's kind of pays tribute to St. Louis. Got lots of insider talk about insider parties, insider references. I know what 2 of these things are, maybe 3, but yeah, there's lots of cool references on here that insiders from St. Louis would know. So more in the works. Yeah, go ahead. Yep.
Cool glassware. You have an app. There's an Instagram which has beautiful photos on it. But what, like in a quick elevator pitch, like why would anyone download the Osner app?
Yeah, sure. That's a great question, John. And really, it's geared towards beer fans. It's a great way to buy beer online fast. I'm sure if you been a beer fan for now any amount of time, you probably come across Instagram threads or posts from other beer fans trying to buy beer, and the process didn't go as smooth as it could have. And sometimes that's because the brewery is using technology to sell beer that wasn't built for selling beer. And Osner is. It was actually built by guys who used to build mobile ticketing technology, so they really know how the tech works and just love beer, and saw a parallel there between kind of high demand playoff tickets and high demand beer releases, and built Osner to make that process smoother. So if you and a lot of really cool breweries use it, like Perennial. I mean, if you want to be part of their society, their membership, that's something that only happens through Osner. They release the barrel aged version of this beer through Osner. That's how they get it. Right. So it's like kind of like
super the people that would wait in line for 5 hours and bring their significant other so that you could get a little extra beer as well.
Right. Exactly. Now you don't have to do that. You can just do it all on your phone and save 2 hours standing in the rain, or save your lunch break or whatever, and actually relax and just jump on your phone and do it. So it's been really great getting to know those guys and kind of helping them, building out this app, making it do more. And of course, going to work with these breweries and do cool stuff like this. So I was pumped to grab some SUMP tonight, and I knew right away the glassware to enjoy it in. So again, keep an eye out. If you haven't followed us on Instagram yet, go and do so. We have a lot of fun things we're going to be announcing over the next couple of weeks, whether it be more glassware, interesting events that we're starting to unveil, things like that. So definitely very cool and unique, and have been a lot of fun so far.
Well, the glassware is exceptionally fun to drink this awesome beer out of, and this one looks cool as hell. Thanks for sharing that, Harrison.
Yes.
Osner, skip the wait in line. I don't know if you guys have a tagline yet, but
lines are the past. Osner is the future. I don't know. Yeah. Ooh, lines are dumb. So and that's not, well, maybe that's a t-shirt or a bumper sticker.
Pretty good. Or something. Lines are dumb. That's also true for everyone. No one ever waiting in a line has been happy about it.
What a great invention this is, right? They just conjure up angry memories of like kindergarten and getting sent to the back of the line because someone pulled your hair first, but no one saw that.
They train you. They train you from a young age that we all wait in line for things. Or if you're overseas, you queue, I guess, for things. But it's the same process.
Yep, exactly. It sounds fancier. But yeah, you can leave all that behind. Cat's out of the bag. Technology's here. Lines are dead. And you have your life back now and more beer. So it's a win-win-win unless you invested in lines. Unless you're like a company that builds those
little queue things.
Yeah, queue things, then sorry. But you had your time. Now you're just going the way of the horse and carriage. And that's perhaps a good thing. Maybe one day people will stand in lines in Central Park kind of ironically and romantically.
Like a fast pass, like fast pass for beer. If you've been fortunate enough to visit Disney and then double fortunate enough to pay for a fast pass,
right?
That revolutionizes the way you get on roller coasters. Okay, I'll stop. But
you're right. But you're right, John. You're right. Lines are a technology that's old that can be improved, and we've done it. So check it out. Download the app. Say hi to us on Instagram. All that good stuff. And again, keep an eye out on cool swag and things. If you're a fan of beer glasses like this, more to come. But for now, we wanted to give a shout out to our European listeners. Always hearing great feedback from you guys, wanting us to do more with you, drink beers you guys can get. Stay tuned soon for something next week that you'll hopefully be able to enjoy in that regard. But today, we wanted to draw attention to the Brewers Forum. So this is a really cool conference. It's actually taking place June 1st through the 4th of this year. So like next to the 2 weekends from now, essentially, or next weekend. And so it's organized by the Brewers of Europe. And it's kind of like a brewing conference for beer professionals. And it's anybody from like breweries to people in the supply chain, distributors. If you work at a tap house, something like that, and you're interested, it's actually free. It's a 4-day conference. It's all online, and they're discussing not just kind of beer specific things, but sustainability in the industry, innovation, opportunities. Basically, it's like a giant networking event that, again, you don't need to leave your house for, which can be beneficial. But really encouraging everyone to kind of, if you're interested in this, it's a great time to learn, to exchange information. And again, it's totally free. So if you guys are interested, or kind of what I found reading about this, if you're thinking about or want to get in that industry in Europe, you want to be a brewer, you want to, learn how to treat cask conditioned ales appropriately or whatever, awesome. This could be a really cool entry point to meeting people, taking classes to that end. All you have to do to sign up is to go to www.brewersforum.eu/register. And again, it's totally free. So if you're curious at all, or again, in the industry, know people who are, check that out. The 1st through the 4th of June is the event, but you can register right now and save yourself a spot.
The price is absolutely perfect for me, at least. You won't get any complaints on that. And Untappd's very own VP of Europe operations, Tom Manchison, is going to be speaking at the forum, talking about using data to drive sales, how a brewer can kind of use some technology, some data to gain an advantage and prioritize, whether that's through distribution or where to spend time on some of their most well-received beers and ultimately sell more of it.
Exactly right.
That's exciting, Harrison.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. The website again is www.brewersforum.eu/register, and we'll drop the link in the show notes too. But now, back to badges. All right, so we're waking up, we're smelling coffee, and now we're drinking beer with coffee in it, and it's I'm loving it, loving every second. As a reminder, how do you earn this badge? Just check into 5 different beers that are basically, again, coffee porter, Imperial coffee porter, or stout, coffee stout, Imperial coffee stout. So again, has coffee in it, is a dark beer, you're probably good. So far, 154,000 unlocks. So a lot, but not like a crazy amount, which was kind of interesting to me considering, as you said, like coffee stouts. I mean, I feel like now, I'm not going to get on my soapbox, but I feel like most of the time I'm asking what is not a coffee stout, not what is the coffee stout. Like I just assume if the stout's in front of me, it's got coffee, and it's kind of become ubiquitous. But so fair amount of unlocks, but nothing crazy. And some pretty cool, probably unsurprising players here who really made a name for themselves in the coffee game in terms of top beers to have unlocked this badge. The top 3, and I think almost all of the top 10 are coming from the one and only Founders Brewing Company. Number 1 being KBS Espresso Stout, and number 2, the KBS Maple Mackinac Fudge or Mackinac Fudge. Yeah, such
a good beer.
Yep.
That was amazing.
Yep. Lagunitas though jumps in with their Willetized Coffee Stout of the 2019 actually. I think that recently just came back out. I saw a bunch of it at my local bottle shop today, so that's pretty cool. And then kind of variants of different KBS's over the years. Bourbon County brand Cafe de Ola Stout from 2019, which is a variant I did not get, but sounds like it has coffee in it. And then CBS too, a couple variants there, and rounded it out with Speedway Stout from Ellsmith. It's pretty cool. So I mean,
all these beers are great.
Right, amazing. Speedway Stout, it was one of rewind to really, if I'm remembering correctly, like before KBS and before Bourbon County, maybe at the same time, Speedway Stout from Alesmith was like the sought after coffee stout. They had Vietnamese Speedway Stout that was done with like Vietnamese coffee. They had different variants of that beer. That's an amazing beer from, again, kind of an OG American craft brewery. That's, boom, cracking top 10 here for this badge. So that's pretty cool to see.
Speedway Stout is still an amazing beer if you haven't had it, or if you haven't had the Thai or the Vietnamese one. Even though, as Harrison said, that was kind of like a precursor to the style, that's one you should never turn down.
Yeah,
if you accept my advice in beer.
Yep. And some pretty cool locations that unlocked this badge is unlocked at Microphone Brewing in Chicago, Founders, of course, Burial Phase 3. So kind of a lot of breweries that over the years have become known for their stouts. Also jumping on that list of places people tagged in that check-in as the venue they were drinking that beer at. So, but enough about all those other people. How are we doing, John? How are you doing on this badge? Where are we at?
You know what, man? Never as good as I think I would be doing when we get to this section of the podcast. On this badge, I'm level 7, and I almost think it's just because like I drink KBS anytime I can get my hands on it,
right.
And a lot of the beers you mentioned. But I guess even though I feel like there's a lot of coffee stouts, I guess there's just not a whole lot of variety of them. I mean, I'm level 7. That's 35 different coffee stouts. That's decent. I'm not seeking them out. The last one that I had, I went to Untappd and looked. The last one I leveled up with was from New Glarus, and it was their beer called Coffee Stout, which is aptly named. And I was having that paired with venison, which I remember that was part of like a bottle share beer dinner we did with some friends, and amazing. Like, it was really cool. They did like a coffee crust on the venison and drinking this. It was like 5.5% beer, so it wasn't super big. That was a really fun night. Food and beer.
Sounds amazing. Yep, I know, right? That's wow.
So if I'm level 7 and we play the over-under game, I'm going to guess, Harrison, that you're under on this, because generally coffee stouts are high ABV. That's my reasoning behind it.
And you'd be correct, John, right on the money. And really, so I'm at a level 2. So just creeping along.
All right, just getting started. All right there, champ.
Just beginning my journey into, I can't wait to acquire the taste of this beer we all talk about. But seriously, level 2, so not impressive. Most recently, Fireside Folklore from Flying Machine, which I raved about. I think I gave that, let me look at my check-in real quick. Yeah, like almost a perfect score. It was so good, and so like dark chocolate coffee. That wasn't high in ABV. I think that beer only came in around like 6%, so not crazy. Very, very good. Happy to have enjoyed that. But kind of looking through this list, I was fortunate to have Canadian Breakfast Stout in 2017. That jumped on here. Espresso Oak Aged Yeti, KBS. But it reminded me that, like, I think I have like just a aversion to them because for a period after college, which I've spoken about on this podcast before, lucky to have a 3-tap kegerator in a house. I lived with a bunch of other guys that I went to college with, and we had breakfast stout, just the OG breakfast stout from Founders on tap there. Amazing beer. And I just remember one night drinking many pints of it into the wee small hours of the morning and being like, why am I not tired? Why can I not go to bed? And someone just kind of leaned over and was like, well, it's probably all the coffee and the beer, right? And I like didn't put it all together. So I have just like very vibrant, but also hazy memories of just the horror of not being able to go to sleep thanks to the coffee stout.
If you drank enough coffee stouts to stay awake,
the party kept going.
At least one problem, perhaps even 2 or 3.
Right. Well, and when you don't sleep in a large city, it usually you end up in a casino, and then you're in New Jersey, and then other things happen. Bookies are involved. I've lived an adventurous life, John. One fueled
dangerous
by caffeine.
In Buffalo, we would just end up at a Greek diner.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes
you would sober up with potatoes.
Love it.
Um,
Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Speaking of coffee, can we tangent away from beer for just a second, since I'm kind of a coffee nerd, and just ask Harrison, do you have a preferred, do you have enough care in the coffee world? Like, do you have a preferred coffee preparation method? Are you that much of a nerd?
Yeah, I've gone through many. I was fortunate to be married to someone who was a barista for many years, and then went on to manage a really well-known coffee house in Philadelphia. So coffee is a thing here, and we have like probably too much coffee machinery for one house. We have espresso machines and French press and percolators and drip coffee. So, and we've gone through them all, and it's fun. I mean, it's easy. The comparisons between being a beer fan and a coffee fan are correct and varied and many, and that all makes sense because you can really get lost in the coffee world and the nuances and the technology and gadgets, just like you can for beer. So right now, though, recently acquired a pretty fancy, I mean, that's not the right word, a very good drip coffee machine made by Cuisinart, the company Cuisinart. So it's got a lot of, basically right now, coffee for me is what's convenient. So I just pour it in the night before, press a button, and when I wake up, I smell the coffee, just like the badge. So that's what I'm doing now. Before that, it was French press, and then before that, it was the percolator, which I loved for many, many years.
Oh, yep.
That's what I kind of not grew up. That's what my mom still drinks out of a percolator, and they have the same percolator since like 1979 or whatever. Anywho, definitely, coffee's big in our house right now, though. Pretty pedestrian, but I do grind my own beans. I'll always do that.
Okay.
And pretty selective at where the coffee we enjoy. Although we try new stuff all the time. If Trader Joe's has had it, we've brewed it in this house, and they're always getting new crazy stuff. So yeah, the day starts with a lot of coffee for me. What about you, John? What's the go-to for coffee in your house right now?
I'd talk myself up a coffee nerd, but I'll admit that I also fall victim of convenience is a really important ingredient.
Yeah.
And I recently went back to drip coffee. I did a lot of research, and I found a machine that I thought was going to produce, it went through like the coffee testing sensory thing and all that stuff. And it makes a pretty good cup of coffee. Most importantly, it wakes me up with the smell, and it's done. And I do the beans as well. But when I'm trying to treat myself, it's French press. That is, it's not something I do every day anymore. But it's sort of like a ritual for me. Like I temp the water at 198 degrees, and I steep for 4.5 minutes. And I don't have a particular measurement. Generally, more coffee if I'm tired. I'll put more beans in. But there's like home brewing you can do with coffee in 15 minutes, and you can make something that's memorable and delicious. I love a French press.
Yeah, pretty much almost an immediate payoff there. You're absolutely right. And we'll see what happens. It seems kind of to be seasonal in this house. You may pull the espresso maker out again in the winter. Not that there's much of a winter down here in North Carolina to kind of make adult hot cocos, which is just a latte. But I feel like that always happens each year. I'm cleaning that thing out around Christmas for some reason, missing pieces and all that stuff. But we're not the only one drinking coffee. I know you have a pretty cool verified menu to highlight this week that's getting into coffee and beer and wine and other things. So where are we going, John? What do you got?
Yeah, so this week I wanted to feature a place. There's a couple of them, but the one that jumped out to me, Grapevine Wine, Beer, and Coffee. They're the one I want to talk about that came up first for me on Untappd is in Rock Hills, South Carolina. They just opened their third location. There's obviously a second location. They're all verified on Untappd. And the Rock Hills location is looking right over the Catawba River. On the Riverwalk. It's kind of this beautiful little place. And so it's a coffee bar in the morning, but they also have wine, tea, beer. So it's that, like if you're like me, or if you like beer, if you like coffee, it's one of those places where you can just go and have kind of an experience. And I've mused about coffee shops and bottle shops kind of becoming one. This is one of those places is like already living that in reality. So whether you do swing by in the morning, kind of do some emailing or watching YouTube, and then stay around in the PM, check it. They have a sick beer menu. They just kind of got back to fully reopen about a month ago.
Yeah.
And if you check them out on Facebook, you'll see some pretty cool Carolina music that like there's a banjo player out front on the river. These are the things that I miss about never leaving this green room. And most exciting about Grapevine Wine and Beer in Rock Hills, they do euchre night on Thursdays. Euchre, like tricks, kitties, bowers, the unified teamwork of sticking it to the dealer, and whether you call it at the bridge or in the barn, like it's just a game that old people play, but why not play it with friends while drinking a beer before you're old or while you're old, depending on where you sit with that. But what I love the most in regards to Untappd about Grapevine is they have their whole beer menu on Untappd, but they also put that kind of coming soon section in the menu. So yeah, here's all the things that we have for you to drink today. And if you're really stubborn or really stick to it, you can help them kick one of their kegs and perhaps even say like, oh, would you mind? I saw you have this one coming up next. I'm not telling you to do that. They might say, no, we have a particular order, but I love when a bar will kind of show me what, I can see what's coming up tomorrow, maybe next week. I think that's really exciting. Harrison, we've never talked much about card games. Have you ever, I'm talking about euchre like everyone knows what it is. Have you ever heard of it? Is it that popular?
I thought he was a linebacker for the Bears, but maybe I know it by another name. But it sounds interesting. Tricks and kitties and bowers. That's
it's not maybe spades or hearts or it's a suited game of teamwork and mainly drinking.
Got it. I had a kitty who broke my heart once long ago. Anyway, John. Good. Fantastic. That sounds fun. That sounds great. Check out Grapevine Wine, Beer, and Coffee if you're ever in the Rock Hills area. They're doing a lot, it sounds like. And yeah, bring your best sticking to the dealer face with you.
There you go. Well done. Like an old euchre pro.
Yeah, I know what I'm talking about. Speaking of talking about stuff, it's that time to do Best Beers of the Week. Actually, first, let's have another sip of this beer. Let's finish with this beer and then talk about other beers. Ooh. I remember.
Dude, it's only been a couple of minutes, but good job remembering that.
Let's get in here real quick. See what's happening now. I had you go first.
I get much more like dark southern pie in here now. Like I get much more caramel. The blueberries all but vanished, and the bitterness has subsided a little bit. Where it kind of I get after retro nasally, right after I swallow it and I breathe out of my nose. That's when I really get that coffee now.
Yeah, for sure. I'm getting that too. I wasn't even picking up on that last. That's oftentimes. Right. It's a totally different flavor experience when you breathe out after taking a sip. It could be other flavors. Mine, I don't know if it's the description or what, but it tastes mine tastes like a pear. I get pear. And pear is such a interesting fruit. When you think it doesn't taste like much. It's a very light fruit. It's kind of what else? What does a pear taste like? I don't know.
Like a soft apple, like a half apple.
But it's not that even. It's not that sour. It's not that. It's like a different thing. It almost tastes fake or but it's not. I don't know what I'm trying to say. But anyway, it tastes like a pear to me in this moment. And maybe a lot of that is the lightness, the vanilla-ness, the vanilla thing happening. But man, this is great. It's really kind of changing and
I'm looking for pear because I want to find it, but in my head, all I can find is a pear that was dunked in white sugar and then put in the sun for a moment to just caramelize. That, I can taste that.
Yeah, the caramelization. Yeah, you're definitely getting caramelized things. But cool. All right, so other beers. Best beer of the week. John, you kick us off. What did you enjoy?
Yeah, it's getting around summertime, so apparently this is when I drink all my big dark beers.
Of
And
course.
the best beer of the week for me comes from about as far across the country as I can get, from Great Notion Brewing. Their kind of signature beer, Double Stack. It's an Imperial breakfast stout, which will also help me level this up. I think it's listed as a coffee beer. I'll have to double check, but bunch of maple syrup. So in that beer, like everything that I taste here that's kind of coffee and bitter, in Double Stack, it was like sweet and breakfast and like you could get away with pouring it on pancakes and charging money for it.
Right.
That was delicious. Great Notion's phenomenal. I wish we could get more of their beer over here. What about you, Harrison? What was your most memorable suds
the past week? So yeah, you and I had the pleasure again of hosting the second edition of the Lowe's Foods Virtual Beer Hunt. This way we traveled through the internet superhighway down to Edmonds Oast in Charleston, South Carolina. Got to hang out with Brandon there at Van Cicerone. He was amazing. Just a wealth of knowledge. So cool. Such a cool guy, but then also so great that Edmonds Oast, has him on staff and is working with him as, much as they are, because you can tell it makes the experience of the consumer there that much greater and that much more kind of just kind of surrounded by the experience, talking with the bartenders, reading, information about the beer. It's all, it's just so on point. And he was so great to speak with. And so we enjoyed a bunch of beer with him. It's so cool to talk to, right, like someone at the brewery when you're enjoying beers from that brewery. And the last beer we had was from their American Wild Ale series. Kind of have like a bunch of fruited sour beers they do. And this one was a sour apricot peach, and it was amazing. It was so good. It was so refreshing. It was like I think as you said in your check-in, like a fresh peach in liquid form. It was so balanced. Like it wasn't, I just couldn't get over how, because sometimes wild ale sour beers will kind of take you on like a sour exploration. Like how much can I make you pucker? And it's like, this is exciting. Like a hot wing is exciting, but like, I don't know if I would have
16 ounces of it. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. This beer, I was like, wow, this is so refreshing. There's about 6% or so. It's not crazy. It was refreshing. And I just couldn't believe how much it just kind of tasted like a fresh peach. That was really cool to, again, have it. Everyone, those events are so cool. As we said last time, if you're in North or South Carolina near a Lowe's, you can grab a box from another one with Westbrook, June 19th. That'll be pretty cool too. We'll do something fun with them. No idea what's in that box, but it's been really fun. Lowe's hooks you up. You get a bunch of beer, bunch of snacks, pint glasses. So yeah, just look up your local Lowe's. They'll have a virtual beer hunt box available, I believe, after the 5th of June for Westbrook. So if you're interested, hanging out at home, we got the hookup. But yeah, that sour apricot peach was, Edmonds Oast always on my radar, but holy guacamole, now I want to taste their entire American Wild Ale series. And yeah, that's a new thing on my beer checklist. So pumped to keep checking those things off.
And I guess that's probably all we have to say. It's been a long one, Harrison, or longer than it's been a while since I've spoke to you. I guess
that's true. That's right. We're busy. We're busy folks. Long weeks, long lives, but still somehow not enough hours in the day.
Tell me about it.
Right? As a reminder, make sure you guys are following us on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you follow things.
Yeah, on your Google machine or Apple machine if you're fortunate enough. Next week, in precisely 7 days from now, or depending on when you're listening to this. But next week, we're going straight to the high school locker room where it smells like cologne. Is that the notes, Harrison?
Cologne, I think is what you're trying to say. Oh, no, wait. We're going to Cologne, Germany. Well, not really, but yeah, don't get calm down. We're not we're not going anywhere. We're gonna whatever it is, vicariously.
We're gonna imagine we're going to Cologne, Germany, and where the Kolsch was created. If that's a good enough hint about what we're drinking next week.
Pretty good. So until then, everybody.
Top of the morning to you.
Yeah, that's right. Enjoy seize the day.
There we go. Cheers.